Why, hello there, my name's Depth Charge 2030, and today is day 20 of StormWatch Month. For those playing at home, even though it's been like 20 days, I'd assume you all know if you've seen day 1 through 19, but I don't know. Maybe you don't. Maybe this is the first video you see. So, today, what is Stormwatch Month? Stormwatch Month is basically where I just talk about all things Stormwatch for the entire month of May, which is kind of rearing to a close, so final 11 days, woo. So, today we're talking about Stormwatch, Force of Nature. So, fun fact, this was actually what got me into Stormwatch, this one trade. I just was I was like in one of my local comic shops, and I saw this cover, and it just like winter at the forefront with Fuji in the back, and all the other characters just right there, and I was just so interested in it. I was like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna go pick that up, and I got it for price tag. What was it? Not like nowadays where I could have just gone for $250, but whatever. I'm satisfied. I made the right choice with my purchase. So yeah. So Stormwatch, Force of Nature. It has like issues 37 to 42. And this is the beginning of Warren Ellis's run on Stormwatch. For those who don't know, Warren Ellis is kind of the guy who kind of reinvented Stormwatch as a whole. He just took something that was kind of broken after he basically took the subpar Stormwatch, it's been good, decent, kind of crappy issues, and turned it into something amazing. And the issues here the first issue in this collection is basically called The New World Order, where Henry Bendix just says, okay, enough is enough. This is how it's going to go from now on. After the Fire from Heaven ordeal. Flashpoint's dead now, but yeah, so Henry Bendix, he takes the teams, he divides them into 3 teams, and he axes off a number of characters, like Komacha, that one dude, Prism, and even Cannon and Nautica and Flashpoint. They all get cut from the team, leaving only Fuji, Winter, Battalion as the team's trainer. Synergy's now a field agent, but she's on the field talking, dealing with seedlings. And we've got 3 new characters. Rose Tattoo, who's this silent killer. Then we get Jenny Sparks, who's the spirit of the 21st century, and then one of my favorite characters of Stormwatch, who is Jack Hawksmoor, basically the god of cities. And so the first issue is basically 40 pages long, talking about it's just introducing the new status quo for Stormwatch, and it's just them fighting this one kinda neo-Nazi villain known as Father. I'll just show you what Father looks like. He's that green skull thing, whatever. And then it's basically their first mission as a new team, and using smarts, I guess, they managed to deduce his weakness through the interrogation of Dr. Krug, and then they kind of just kill him by teleporting his lower half up to Skywatch. And that's the end of the first issue. The next issue, though, is called Reprisal, where it kind of deals with the death of Undertow, who was killed off earlier in the last issue. It's basically a noir kind of... I don't want to say noir, it's a mystery story, where it just follows Fahrenheit, Hellstrike, and Jack Hawksmoor as they try to find out who killed Undertow. And as it turns out, it was actually, America, so... they're not too happy about that. They kind of just go and beat the crap out of the 2 guys who killed Undertow and leave him at the president's doorstep, and Bendix just goes, "Don't mess with us, man." Sorry about that for the interruption right there, but continuing on, the next issue's issue called Black, where it just centers around Stormwatch Black, which is this super secret Stormwatch, where it follows Jack Hawksmoor, Jenny Sparks, and Swift on their adventures on their first mission of basically for this city called Lincoln. Their police force is kind of filled, their ranks are filled with superpowered beings, and they're all targeting minorities. through racism, just beating them up, telling them get off our land. And so their whole mission is to like just stop them, which they do, and it is pretty impressive. Which I just want to say, I just want to highlight how cool Jack Hawksmoor's powers are. How he's like can like go from city to city, although he can't like survive outside of a city. So like the cities kind of eat him and then pop him out in a pod. It's somewhere in the city, and yeah, that's kind of like the end of the issue. Then we get to another issue called Mutagen, where it just follows where a plane crashed somewhere in England. About over 300 people have died, and some of the survivors and the nearby towns basically are mutated by something called the Gen Factor, which is kind of like a plot point for Wildstorm in general. So, Fuji, Winter, and Hellstrike, their Stormwatch Prime, they go and deal with that, while Bendix just like sits down and figures out, oh, it's Kaizen Gamora, that douchebag. And then he kind of just calls him up, being like, hey, I'm gonna get you. And so, to make up for all the dead people who died, he sends in Stormwatch Red, and they just kind of, Flint and Fahrenheit, they've been given orders not to interfere with Rose Tattoo's orders, which is to, like, kill the same amount of people who died. But what's really stood out for me in this issue was basically just, well, me saying basically, God damn, I gotta stop saying that. But it was Fuji, Winter, and Hellstrike just being like, we're kind of caught up with our own world, and like these people, these regular people, they shouldn't have to like be a part of our world, and they forget how human their mission really is, to save people. When it turns out an entire church filled with people who have been mutated into like walls to kind of just use their last bit of strength to save people from being affected by the mutagen as well. Then the next issue is one following Synergy called Activator. Sorry, I don't exactly know all the titles for this, but I just know them by number. But basically her issue just follows her mission of being the Activator, like following people around, deciding if they're worthy to be activated, from their seedling powers. But it turns out the person she's currently looking into is actually kind of a serial killer who takes pictures of people he murders and calls them his dirty pictures. Oh. But then it turns out there's an evil activator out there who basically just activates him, and he turns into like some weird devil guy. But, Synergy, she's Synergy, and she just beats the crap out of him and deactivates him. And then the final issue in this is something called Kodo, which is a Fuji-centric issue. Yes. So this is actually my favorite one, my favorite story from this issue, because it's basically just Fuji, they're in Japan, his home country's getting attacked, and he has some great dialogue with the main villain in this issue, where he talks about some poet from Japan, and let me just say, Fuji, as a character, he's interesting. He's like the nicest guy in the world, but you don't mess with him or he does this to you. He just like grabs this guy's head and just kind of crushes it, but not killing him. And then one of the final panels in the issue is just him like putting the flag over the guy's body, even though he's still alive. And then the final part of the issue is him basically just Fuji never speaks of this day again, which it's kind of sad for such a nice guy like Fuji to kind of go through. But yeah. So overall, Force of Nature was basically my introduction to Stormwatch. I really enjoyed it, and let me just say the artwork, the guy, Tom Rainey, Randy Elliott, these guys, they really brought back something good. They put something amazing into Stormwatch. Warren Ellis, him writing, it's basically, this is like my ideal superhero team. Just people just out there trying to make the world better. So yeah. My name's Depth Charge 2030. Today was day 20 of Stormwatch Month. I'll go see you guys tomorrow for day 21. See ya!